Okay. I'm having a hot flash. Right.
I'm thinking it's his skin, and I did, and it's stuck on that thing. That's a new thing we've never had.
Right. Because you never know when they're going to take it. Like,
Somebody's screenshotting the live video.
right. It's ready. Ready. At this time, we will now call it to order. We'd like to say good evening to everyone, and we are grateful that you have come to be a part of our meeting today. At this time, what we would like to do is to go over our board norms and protocols. We agree as a board to respect differences of opinions in making decisions for the district, to follow the practices in managing the superintendent and the management of the board itself, to stay on task when conducting business for the district, including while at board meetings, to never surprise the superintendent or each other when conducting official business of the district, to read these norms at the beginning of each board meeting and at board workshops as a reminder of how to conduct our meetings, to continually self-check to determine if we are following our norms when conducting district business. And with that being said, we would like everyone please stand and let's give the pledge to the allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, we will now have roll call coming from our board clerk.
Maxine Drew,
Present.
Janie Humphreys,
Present.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Present.
Alvina Nguyen, Stacy Yeager.
Present. Thank you. May I get a motion that we accept the approval for the regular agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the approval for the regular agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. At this time, we will now have student presentation and recognition.
Good evening, board, Dr. Faust, district admin, parents, and a lot of orange and black in here this evening. My name is Jeremy Todd. I'm currently the project lead the way engineering teacher at Sumner Academy. We're kind of in a transition phase this year, going from an architecture program the last 3 or 4 years to an engineering program in the future. So we have a group of students who have kind of been in the architecture program during that time, and they needed something that would kind of challenge them and push them a little bit farther than the project lead the way curriculum does. And they're going to talk about their project because that's part of their presentation. But I have 2 different class periods. They're going to present a school redesign proposal to you this evening. I would also like to invite you guys to come out tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 at Sumner Academy. We're having an expo event where the juniors in the class will actually present the work that they've been doing on designing a home for a client in the school. Okay. But I would also like to ask that the board I would like to encourage you to maybe entertain a motion afterwards to recess for a few minutes to ask students questions and kind of mingle with them as they've been working on this project for the last month to 2 months. And look at their they have a model and things like that, so maybe to look at that a little bit more closely. And without further ado, I'll let them get started.
Thank you. Take a 5 minute.
Good evening. My name is Michael Schultz.
My name is Nelson Consuegra.
My name is Alex Matienzo.
Today we would like to discuss our senior project for architecture. Can you open up the presentation for me? Thank you. The other one, sorry. Are they both the same? Yeah, it's not that one.
Not the one?
That one, yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, sorry. You guys want to start?
Oh, go ahead.
All right.
So our project was to improve our outdoor area towards our to our classrooms outside. And as the students, we've seen that we really don't have much space for us to really sort of just be able to mingle and be able to relieve some of that stress we have. And so with our improvement in the outdoor area, we believe that we're going to be able to, you know, be able to bring some of that all right. Well, we're going to be moving on to our architectural task. And so, as the senior architecture students, we were given the task to choose an area to remodel and improve that would benefit the students and staff at the Sumner Academy.
We don't have that.
For this project, Mr. Todd has given us a list of spaces that he's seen around that needed improvement, and it was up to us to make the final call on which area we chose. These are the list of areas that he believes need improvement at the school. While we couldn't tackle all the areas, we decided to focus on one area and make the most improvement we could. The area we chose was the walkway between the school building and the outdoor learning facilities. So why we chose this was because there's benches out there that are outdated, and we would prefer to be able to eat outside when the weather was nice. We also plan on putting up a pergola and a billboard out there so people can be informed on what's going on in our school while they walk through the walkway. This is a site plan of the current, not the current walkway. This is a site plan of the walkway under construction. I believe it was 2 summers ago that this was under construction. Currently, it is just the ramp and the tables out there. But with our new design, we plan on adding more benches and a pergola, as I said before. These are just pictures illustrating what we have already. The site plan is on every page with a red box of the area that's being highlighted on this page.
The proposed improvements was to try to make the space more like viable, like to have like space to where you can enjoy, eat lunch, make it just more welcoming to people. Because right now at this current state, people really don't like enjoy to be out there because like there's not enough seating for people to do. We don't have really that much privileges to go out there and eat. So what we tried to do was try to add more benches out there to the space, try to make it look better. And also added a pergola so it looked nicer and so that there'd be kind of more cover for it. And this is one of the examples of the models that we made. It's a bench. It's a bench that it could be it can fold in and out, so it could be a picnic table at one point, and then you can fold it out to have more seating. That's an example of one of the benches we would add in it. And that's the model that Michael Schultz is showing.
Could you turn around and let them see you do it?
So this model is when it's in table form, but the tops of the table flip out and become the backs of the bench.
Yeah, so it's good.
Yes, yes, please. Thank you. That is just beautiful.
That's really nice. I love that.
Very intellectual.
Yeah. This right here is a 3D model we made using the software SketchUp of what is existing. We have the ramp and the stairs, as well as all the concrete. This is the proposal that we made. The canvas cover is now, we turned that into the pergola. The round circular things are the existing picnic tables, and the actual bench-looking things would be replaced with those benches because we found those to be the most efficient way to remodel it. We also made a huge 3D model. It's kind of heavy and hard to carry, but for this 3D model, the acrylic or the glass walls are the existing school walls, while the plastic is the fence that we have out there for the students' protection. We also included the ramp that is there, and we have the pergola that we hope to design and build at Sumner Academy. We also have the benches that we have proposed before.
Great. It's impressive. Okay, yes.
Next, I would like to talk about fundraising and budget. So all this is capable of being made by the students, such as myself, Alex, and Nelson. The budget would be around $1,500, and right now, part of this project was how to figure out how to fundraising. So we polled the student, we surveyed the students, and everybody wanted a dodgeball tournament, and we are hosting that tomorrow. We are also selling concessions at wrestling meets and basketball games to acquire money. This is the poster we made for the dodgeball tournament. You guys can, it's also the same time as the expo of where our project will be shown, and the juniors and the other classes as well.
I'm gonna have to go there.
Next, I would like to talk about some action steps that we can take to help assure this. We have a CNC in our workshop, but the vacuum system that is in our workshop is not that good, and it's hard to breathe while the CNC machine is going on. It's also loud, so we might want to think about soundproofing if we could. Mr. Todd, as he stated before, this is his first year, so he's not that good at the CNC. So if we could get him some training, and we also take donations.
Then I know it, I know. He's a work in progress.
That's the end of the presentation. If you guys have questions, thank you for your time.
You want them to wait right there? Okay. All right, thank you so much. Before you leave, we would like for you to stay right there so that we can turn this around, if you will, so that the audience can see it.
Maybe push it.
Just push it forward and shift it around so that it can be facing them. Now put it back down on the table. Put it back on. There you go.
Oh, that's the front
That's the
side.
front side. This is the back, that gated.
Okay. Where is it?
That's outside.
This is the front. Oh, okay. I thought it was the other way. Thank you.
So do you have other things you want us to see, or this is?
So this is what they want to build for $1,500.
Oh,
Okay,
This and the pergola, that's what we would.
For $1,500.
yes.
Okay.
so how long y'all been working on the project?
You better ask questions loud so the audience can hear.
Oh, how long have you all been working on the project?
No, you have to come back. Just turn it on.
We've been working on this project for 2 months. It's a how many people? 7? Group of 7. A group of around 7 students has worked on this project.
Great, and I know that right now, trash outside is a problem.
Yes, ma'am.
So what is your strategy to ensure that the place stays nice and clean and all that fun stuff for students eating out there?
Yes, we also have trash cans out there right now, but there's only 2 of them, and I don't think that's adequate, and I don't believe that they get changed regularly by the custodian staff. So another way we would add more trash cans, and maybe for service learning, one of us could go out there and change them.
Service, that's really good.
So a question about the wood. How would you treat the wood to ensure that it does not rot over years?
Yeah. We've looked into that, and we've come up with the solution of using a stain. A stain protects it from the weather, and also some benches will be under the pergola, so they will get even more protection.
Okay.
Well, the cost for the staining, is that included?
Yes,
in the
ma'am.
1,500?
Yes, ma'am.
And for clarity, it might just be me, I'm old. The CNC,
A CNC is just a machine that helps you cut out certain shapes into the wood, so we could make the folding possible with the CNC.
Cutting machine.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. I'd like to get, first of all, we appreciate you coming here today as students, sharing with us what you are working to achieve, not just for your future, but what's here right now currently within our school system. And we are greatly appreciative of the fact that you have taken the time to do that. I would like to get a motion from everyone that we take a 5-minute break so that we could talk to the students as necessary. And take a picture as well. And Mr. Todd, we would like you to come forward as well so that we can have the picture taken, so that we can let the public know on our website what's going on within our school. Could I get a motion, please?
So moved.
second.
It's been moved and seconded. We take a 5-minute recess. We will come back into session at 5:24. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? We are in recess.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get a motion that we reconvene?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we reconvene into our meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We now have a continued presentation from the Sumner students.
Houston? Oh, no.
Hi, I'm Paige Salas. This is Liz, Donna, Elijah, Jocelyn, Euridia, Camilo, Chris, Emily, and Austin.
Thank you.
So our class was given the opportunity to choose a part of the school to redesign, and our team chose to focus on 3 areas: the entryway of the new gym, the balcony above the cafeteria, and the main corridor. We chose these places because they're areas that students tend to spend the most time in. The problem that we're aiming to solve through these renovations of the 3 areas is the division of Sumner High and Sumner Academy. We want to pass on the history to our future students by blending the 2 cultures together of past and present while creating new collaboration spaces.
Okay, so one of the biggest concerns at Sumner Academy is traffic and how students interact with others in traffic. For example, in the cafeteria for lunchtime, most of the time we have less time to interact with our other classmates and actually eat because we are focused on finding a seat. There's also many times where some of us have to stand or we have to look for another place to eat due to the lack of space.
Okay, our school has furniture in various small spaces and corners and hallways. However, like mentioned before, there is not enough furniture in the cafeteria for adequate seating and socializing. Incorporating furniture such as booths and movable furniture will help relieve these problems.
So to figure out exactly what our what the other students and staff at our school wanted. We created a survey to see exactly what people at our school want out of the spaces that we decided to renovate. And for the entryway area to the new gym, most people decided that they wanted a study space, but a lot of people still wanted to eat there as well. So we decided to create an area that would be good for both. However, in the balcony over the cafeteria, the majority of people just wanted to eat there. So we decided to focus specifically on that aspect of that area when renovating.
All right, this is basically an overview or a plan view of Sumner Academy, and as you can tell, there's an outline of the main spaces we're working on and focusing on. It consists of the alumni room, the entryway, the senior hallway, and the entrance to the gym and the commons area, as they mentioned. These are areas of focus. We outlined it in the site plan view of Sumner Academy, and these are a few pictures of the senior hallway and the entryway to the gym.
Now moving on to ideation. Majority of the students wanted furniture that's movable and also to have flexible, basically move it around so that, for example, like our dance team, as well as I know that the volleyball team also uses the commons area on top of the lunchroom. So having movable furniture was ideal for students, as well as in the middle picture right there, you can see some frosted glass. A big idea that was thrown out there for this project was to have a glass wall to separate the top of the balcony from the rest of the lunchroom. And it will be frosted, and it would be like a kind of collaboration area to write notes down in case if anybody wanted to study there. It also helps block the sound from the lunchroom into the commons area. And then moving on to the bottom pictures where we have bench seating, booth styles. A lot of students really like the comfort, and so incorporating that into our design was crucial. And we all wanted to keep the color blue intact to keep Sumner Academy relevant. And to move on to that large picture right there, that's a drop ceiling showing spotlight ceilings with lighting to enhance for students to interact with each other, also to see better since it's quite a dim place with the waffled ceiling. These are some ideas that Emily had drew with the patterns and the colors that she also played with. The top right with the blue and the gray, and those were colors that we incorporated into our design rather than incorporating the orange and the red. More so because it helps with the eyes, and it also helps with how students will study in that area as well as communicate with people. And here are some conceptual drawings that we have. So for the left side, drawn by Donna Borjas, she drew kind of a section view of one of the walls that has the glass walls, and on the right side, it's a perspective view from one of the sides from the glass wall looking towards the bathroom areas. But these are just conceptual designs, and these are just designs that we thought of on the spot and decided to draw them out. And our Sumner logo, as well as the future belongs to us. Those are some graphics that we think that should be incorporated into our design just for inspiration purposes. And then now moving on to renderings. The top left is what the actual balcony looks like right now. And then the bottom right is the renderings with the updated tables, the updated ceiling fixtures, as well as kind of like a snack bar and concessions area. And there's also that huge glass wall that I mentioned earlier, which is also frosted, where students can write notes, and it also blocks a sound barrier. It makes a sound barrier from the lunchroom into the commons area. And here are some more renderings from the other side. As you can see, there's 4 windows in the right, the bottom right. The top left has trophy cases blocking the windows and prohibiting natural light from coming in. Here are some more renderings for furniture as well.
Other than the common areas and the lack of space that we saw in students, we also wanted to do something about the alumni room. We noticed that the alumni room is kept away and is only open like once or twice a month. We went, the three of us, Donna, Paige, and I, we went into the alumni room to take pictures and like look around to see what we can do with that space. As we were walking around, we were really like amazed at the fact that everything is kept in this room, and we noticed like so many things that should be like put out in the public for people to see. And we wanted to give Sumner's history a better representation than just having it in a room and like being locked away. With our renovation, we wanted to incorporate the history within our designs, which is what led us to use the main entrance hallway and the senior hallway to create a type of like timeline of Sumner with our next like our sketches. Like you guys will be able to see that. For our ideation, like the picture in the middle is what the hallway looks like now, and the two pictures with the purple ones, we kind of wanted to stay away from like the traditional exhibitions. Like we wanted to include like a timeline as people walk into Sumner for them to see how it started and how like it's progressing throughout the years. We kind of wanted to bring that concept of like a field house. That way we are able to incorporate like the trophies from like past years and the recent years, because we've noticed that the trophies that they used that were from back then are like cool. Like we wanted them to be like represented in our hallway. And the picture on the top right is basically the color scheme we wanted to use for our design. We wanted to incorporate the colors from Sumner High School and the same colors with Sumner Academy. Like we said, our goal was to incorporate both cultures in both high schools in one. So we wanted to transition from orange to blue. That way both are kept together.
So as Liz said, we wanted to stay away from the very basic displays, and we wanted to bring together the Sumner spirit, the Sumner Academy spirit, and the Sumner High. On here, you guys can see some of our rough sketches of us taking inspiration from some of the yearbooks of the Sumner alumni to put them as some graphics. We also wanted to incorporate the letter jackets from both, as well as the graduation caps and gowns. And our idea here is to start, like she said, with the alumni awards and colors, and then transition on your way down to the Sumner Academy stuff. So here is where I was talking about the Sumner yearbook. We wanted to put this at the entrance so that everybody can be aware of the alumni, the presence of the alumni, and the fact that we're representing them here. And from, how can I go back? And as you guys saw here, our inspiration moved us to this trophy case. This would be, like we said, in the senior hallway. It would be like this.
Well, one of the ideas that we kind of came up with was to have the Sumner Academy like engraved in like big letters, and within where there's like the blue spots and the light blue, there's just like a glass case, and within the letters we kind of wanted to incorporate graphics from the past and from the present as well, to maintain that, to keep that concept that we wanted from to combine both of the high schools. We also didn't want to like have everything thrown in there as well, because that's what we were trying to stay away from.
So on this sketch right here, this would be the main entrance to the office. And this wall, since we are aware that there is too many things in the alumni room, we want to put the biggest artifacts in the hallway. And those documents that we can't display, we wanted to have a digital copy of those and have, if possible, one of these screens outside so visitors can just look through any document they want to see. And right here, these would be like class pictures of the alumni as wallpaper. And if you go into the screen, you would also be able to find like the class picture of so year or the yearbook or any information from the alumni.
Now we're going to talk about the budget. So basically, for every material that we need, we try to get a general price range of how much it would cost. So the first thing you see right here is the bar table sets. And so we looked at like Home Depot, Lowe's, different websites to try to get the best deal. It's rough estimates still. But so we said 6 sets is going to cost us $94.75 each, so total about $600. And that's an example right there. And that would be like in the commons area. And so can lights. So these can lights, they would go in display cases. So in the lockers, we can hook them up to the top. And so that way, whatever artifacts is in there, it'll show. And like I said, the estimated cost for all these can lights would be $300. They come in 6 packs, and we need about around 6, so it'll be 36 total. The cost of labor, we still don't know quite yet. What I want to do is have an electrician come in and kind of give us a rough estimate. That's the only way we can really be sure. It depends on the person that we hire as well. Glass display cases. So each glass sheet is going to cost about $6.48. We're going to need quite a few of them. And so total estimate would be $300. And we want to have those with the lockers. So basically, to save costs, you just want to take out the door of the lockers. In the senior hallway, most kids, they don't use their lockers anyways. They're just taking up space. And so we want to take the door out, then put a glass cover right there, make a display case. And shelving. So they have shelving in the lockers, but they're pretty old. And I noticed that there's like screws, so we can unscrew them and put new ones in and put those in there. That's kind of expensive, $517.40 is the estimated total on that one. And then, so for the fishbowl, this is basically like in the commons area. It's overlooking the lunchroom. And we basically want to have like see-through glass doors over there. They can use for a classroom and just a space, just to hang at during lunch period. And like I said, cost of labor, we don't know quite yet. It was very hard to find this design that we wanted and to find the exact person to do it. So the best way for us to get that number is for them to come in and take a look. So sheetrock drywall, this is going to be put into the commons area. Whatever decorations you want to do on the wall, whatever, the estimate cost of that is $350. And that could be less or more depending on what store we go to. And then so total estimated expenditures. So for materials, we're going to estimate around $5,000. And then so the labor, $4,000, but that could change, depends on the person we hire. I don't know if like the district has like contractors they already have set in place to do certain type of work. So we're going to estimate a total of $9,000. And so we thought possible ways of funding. So I'm going talking to outside corporations, different companies, see if they want to give us a grant or anything like that. Or and then the school district, if y'all would be generous to help us fund this project, that'd be great as well. In-school fundraising, like our class period, they're doing like a dodgeball tournament. We're thinking about selling different foods during lunchtime and warm food at that. And so it would be just an exact time we sell that. And then a partnership with the KCKC and K-State Tech program. So basically, I know with K-State, they had the job of for their final to kind of help us redesign our school as well. And so with that, I know like for the learning and hands-on experience, maybe their dean will allow them to come do some work and we can get that work for free, and they can just help us do different construction. And then I know KCKPS have different tech classes, and for a hands-on experience, they can probably come in and help us do some of the work. Then also, like I said, we have an architecture program ourselves, and so if it is allowed, we would love, like myself, I would love to do some of the work as well. And so that can help kind of cut down the cost of things. And that is our presentation for the renovations of Sumner Academy.
Thank you. Any board comments?
I think there's a guy holding the model back there.
The space where we're doing, this is the entry and commons area. Wanted to focus on.
Okay. It's nice.
Go out and take a picture with them.
Yes. Could you turn around and let them see it as much as you can?
Good job.
So could we go forward, and if you guys will come up, we will take a picture. Who has the model? Someone grab the model. Short person.
Tilt it a little bit. You can get into the picture. That's good.
There we go. I can't see my board. There we go. Everyone smile, look this way. 1, 2, hold. Thank you.
Very good.
We'd like to thank you all for coming and presenting this information, and we will be diligently working and expecting to bring about this into fruition so that you will have what you need at Sumner Academy. We thank the instructor for encouraging you and helping you to be able to come and present this to us, and it will not end here. So thank you so much. Next, we will have a recognition of New Stanley Elementary School by Dr. Faust.
Good afternoon, Board, Madam President. If I could have the New Stanley representatives come join me at the podium, that'd be great. So this is an exciting time of the year with our principal, Chanel Robertson. Didn't know where you were. We got a call a couple weeks ago, probably I think it was right before Thanksgiving. She and I got a call from the deputy superintendent, and they were, not deputy superintendent, I said that earlier today, deputy commissioner. And in that telephone call, they were wanting to hold, I was on another call, and so they were asking for me. And they said it's about federal, they had some federal news that we need to talk about. I was like, oh man, what is it? So what we are here for is priceless. For the first time in, I don't think they said they've ever had anyone from our school district, New Stanley is going to be receiving the Closing the Achievement Gap between student groups. And they've done this for 2 or more years. And so they are the only school in the state of Kansas who will receive this award. This is So this is an even more spectacular event for the principal. The principal's only been there. she's finished her second year. She's going into her third year right now. So within the years that she's been there, she's been able to accomplish this. And so to be able to get this award, it's through the it's Elementary School Education Act, Elementary and Secondary Education Act. And so in February, they will be traveling along with some district representatives to the Title I conference, where they will receive the national award.
That's great.
The national award. So we are most thankful for your principalship, your leadership, and I am here for two things. I need to give you a baton.
Yes.
Because you are on track.
Yes.
And the other part is from your school. Your school, am I supposed to present this or something? Okay, so your school has a picture for you, which I believe just captures the essence of your leadership. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So this is the, I want to thank you for your leadership. I cannot tell you how impressed I am with the work that you do. Just keep doing it. You are rocking. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the work. Yes, okay, photo with the board.
Ready? 1, 2. Thank you.
That is so awesome.
It's nice, isn't it?
Again, we say congratulations to New Stanley. I had the privilege of going over at the beginning of the school year on the first day of school, since they started early, and I went into the building to look and see. I was exercising that morning, and after I got through, I just popped in over there, apologized for my appearance, but it was good to see them engaging with all of the students. So again, we say thank you. At this time, we are now going to go to our community comments. And first, want to go over the comment policy to make sure that there's clarification and understanding. Persons who are going to be coming, at the beginning, we're asking that you must give us your name. Your address and phone number shall be recorded on a roll to be maintained by our board clerk. Speakers must limit their remarks to 3 minutes, which may include any questions that are going to be given by the board, and you will be timed, so therefore you will be advised as to when your time is up. So we ask that you please try to stay within the time frame. If you are wishing to submit written materials as a supplement of your remarks, we ask that you make 12 copies so that we can make sure that it gets for proper distribution to those who are going to receive it. And if you wish to discuss a topic that is already on our board agenda, then we ask that you hold your comments until that item is going to be up for discussion. Again, we're asking you to please adhere to the 3-minute time limit. So with that in mind, we will have Ms. Felicia Smith Safir, if I'm correct on her pronunciation, from the Historical Sumner Alumni Room.
Felicia, you need my name and address, my wife. They already have that.
Okay, so just give us your name, please.
Felicia Smith Safir. And I am a 1972 graduate of Sumner. And my mother graduated in 38. I have siblings 62, 65, 67, 69. My husband and I were both in 72. And I have another sibling in 74. Everyone in my family has graduated either from Sumner on one side or Lincoln on the other side. My grandmother graduated from Lincoln in 1912. She was a daughter of a slave. She was the first black special ed teacher in the state of Missouri. My father graduated from the historical Black Western University in the Quindaro ruins. I want to thank the young people who did their presentation today on the changes inside of Sumner. That was a very great presentation. One thing that we want to make sure of is that the history is preserved and the artifacts do not get destroyed again as they were when originally Sumner was closed and Chester Owens had to go through the trash to pick them out. All of the music trophies were destroyed. I haven't seen any of them. And I was one of the 72 who went to the jazz band in Paris. And I was selected as the top alto saxophonist at the International Jazz Festival and received a full ride academic and music scholarship to the University of Miami. Yes. We don't know where any of those trophies are. The concern is that if someone goes back in that alumni room, then what's going to really happen to the items? Are they going to be preserved or are they going to disappear? And yes, we do welcome being able to put the history back. There was a video that was made several years ago, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, and they wanted to present it at Sumner. And they told them no, so it was presented at the junior college. Yes, that's where it was presented because they said no. And that is a concern. Sumner is on the historical register, but it has been altered, which is, in looking at the Section 106 protection of historical properties, it states that those types of actions restrict the subsequent consideration of alternatives to avoid, minimize, or mitigate the undertaking's adverse effects on historic properties. I want to give an example. Lincoln High School became Lincoln Academy, but they never took Lincoln High School off the building, nor did they rip out the mascot out of the floor or change it, the colors or any of that. They didn't do any of those things. And when they needed more space, they added on to the building, and now they're reopening the middle school and remodeling it so they have that space. They have 2 alumni rooms on the first floor, classrooms, and you're welcome in there anytime, anytime. They have the trophy cases outside the classroom. And so that is the concern, that we still do not, we're losing the history of Sumner High School. And that is part of the history of the entire city. Okay, I'm going to finish this real quick. You may write me down in history with your
Sorry,
bitter
but your
twisted-
time is up.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
The only thing I have left is I will always be a Spartan. And the historical Sumner Spartans will always rise.
Thank you.
Thank
you. I do need,
Madam President, is it possible that we could get a copy of what you were reading, each board member? Yes. Please? Thank you.
again, we will need 12 copies for that to be done. I do need to say that I do remember you. I came out of the class of 71. You were in the class of 72. My class was the group, class of 71, that built that place of the model of the Summer Spartans. And former student, Mr. Sidney Butler, who is now deceased, got the scraps of that and had it in his basement. I don't know where it is right now, but we will try to accommodate and do what is necessary to make sure that the memory of Sumner High School, I am a Sumner Spartan. So thank you for coming before us. Thank you. Okay, at this time, we will have Judith A. Jones coming to discuss use of community resources.
We've got.
Oh, good, good, good. I don't think I got it. Okay, good.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am Judith A. Jones, 3144 Woodview Ridge Drive, apartment 307, KCK, 913-961-2393. I'm a wife, a mother, a retired theater teacher, Turner District, former Marine officer, and I've spent 42 years as a voting resident of Wyandotte County, and I'm a founder and director of Kansas Academy of Theatrical Arts. Tonight I address the board instructional policy that talks about community resources being legitimate objectives that they may be advanced. Last year, our educational theater company inspired students from all 5 high schools to come together and advance their own educational objectives as they performed the Broadway musical Bye Bye Birdie. We'd like to acknowledge that and thank Jody Lynn at District Fine Arts and Mr. Brame at Arrowhead for helping us coordinate and successfully complete that project. This year, the All-City High School Theater Troupe would like to formally invite the Board of Education to the Broadway musical Guys and Dolls. Your invitation has the details of this year's show. At CADA, we teach, we inspire, and we connect young people to their future. Our educational objectives parallel district goals and state educational standards as we use theater to enhance reading, math, social, and representational skills that launch young people into the world of work. Our effectiveness as community resource is proven by our notable names of CADA alumni. Here's just 2. Matt Bustamante, parents as teachers and president of CADA Board, and Jamel Brown, award-winning forensic teacher at Sumner Academy. CADA has been launching young people in KCK and Wyandotte County for 30 years. Our position is not to compete, but to complement the efforts of the district and other community organizations. CADA is asking everyone in this room to join us for this show. Admission is free. Please bring a friend and a donation, or press donate on our website. CADA's continuing goal is to inspire students to become notable names in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Just want to say I had the privilege of seeing Bye Bye Birdie, and it was an excellent play. And it's just good to know that you're going to continue, and I will be in attendance. Okay. Any other comments from the board?
It was an excellent play last year.
Yes.
It's great.
Most definitely. Thank you. So at this time, we are now going to go to our board updates with a bond update by Mr. Dennis Covington.
Good evening, board.
Good evening.
Tonight, we're going to bring you some much-awaited pictures of our new school that's being built.
Yes.
And we're going to have a public showing of where we are. Y'all come on up. We have the representatives from J.E. Dunn here, and they will walk you all through the presentation and show you all this wonderful building that we have going up.
Good evening, Madam President.
Good
Dr.
evening.
Faust, esteemed board, community members, and future architects, I understand. My name is Jeremy Catlett. I'm a project manager with J.E. Dunn, and it's my honor, privilege to be here to present our construction updates. Mr. Moore is enjoying sunny Florida, I do believe, so he cannot be here this evening. You have, I believe, in front of you, Lowell Bruni Elementary School. Reports starting from May of 2019 through December of 2019. And I think it'd probably behoove us to go ahead and move to December of 2019, and we can talk about where we are at today with this project. Go to 12, go up. Oh, sorry. One more? Right there. Okay, sorry about that. So for Lowell Bruni, we are currently finishing the interior masonry walls. The structure is up, of course. We've got all of we're working on overhead and in-wall mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. Roofing is complete on the building. Window frames are being installed. Interior wall framing and drywall is proceeding. As you can see from the pictures, we've got CMU. The railings and main stair, overhead MEP. Next month, we will be working on interior wall framing and drywall, continuing with that. Of course, the overhead and MEP will continue on. Window frames installation, and that will continue on. And we'll also begin interior painting. As you can see from this slide, we also got the parking lot The base course is in, and we are in great shape for Little Bruni to be completed this summer. Go to 6B, please.
About one.
We can do West Park. So West Park Elementary, working on that project personally with another project manager, Molly Lyons. So this project is also going very well. We have delivery and startup of rooftop units. So we're getting heat going in the building. Roof has been finished. Again, base course of the asphalt is down, along with curbs and sidewalks are going in. Interior drywall installation is proceeding. Elevators is installing this month, and communications wire at the exterior door frames. Next month, we will have metal wall panels. We will start painting of the block. Tile and restrooms, and delivery and startup of the last 2 rooftop units will occur. This project as well is on schedule to be completed this summer. B, 6B.
J.C. Harmon.
Up. Right there.
Yeah.
6B, J.C. Harmon. We're done.
It's good, yeah.
Just finishing up the punch list and everything, furniture's moving in, and basically turning it over to the school district.
It's good, too.
And then work package 13, which is the Carl B. Bruce Middle School, which is another one I started, but then handed that off to others. So this month, it is also going very well. Masonry, load-bearing walls, roofing is about 75% complete. It should be done by the end of the month. Metal framing, exterior sheathing is going on, setting door frames, MEP rough-in, aluminum storefronts and glazing, waterproofing air barrier, exterior-wise, the retaining wall is going in, interior framing and drywall. And then for the month of January, we'll be going on with the masonry walls, the metal panels, aluminum storefronts, waterproofing air barrier and such. There you can see in the photos, the roofing down. Building is, like I said, 75% watertight. And again, that project is still on schedule to be completed in July of 2020. I believe that is all. We'll hand it over to John Schlick.
Good evening, Board. Dr. Faust.
Good evening.
It's good to be back. It's been a few months since I've provided you an update to the overall bond budget. Since last time, which I think was in October, we've procured 4 more packages that will start construction this summer. 2 of those being work package 11, which is secure entrances and kitchen renovations to several elementary schools. And then the renovations to the remaining middle schools that were left, Eisenhower Central, and then also the maintenance facility that's going at the West Park site. In totality, those 5 projects all came in right at budget. Some came in a little over, some a little under, but overall we ended up very well. And so to date, we have contracted out 99% of the work. So there's only 2 work packages left, one being the secure entrance and kitchen renovation at New Stanley, which that work's not going to be happening until the summer of 2021. So we're going to wait a little while to bid that one. And then, of course, we're still holding the allowance for Bethel Elementary School once the scope is determined for that school. But we're doing very well as far as the how much of the work is actually completed or billed to date. 74% of the overall bond has been completed and billed for. So 3/4 of the way and still sitting overall about $300,000 under budget. Any questions?
Not at all. Done an excellent job.
Thank you very much.
I drive near Carl Bruce almost every day, and it's amazing to me just to see how much it is just moving forward so rapidly. So thank you so much. Any other board members?
We will, thank you. The team will appreciate hearing that.
Thank
Pass
you.
that on to them.
And I keep looking for something different every day that I come through that way.
Exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So with that, we are now ready for our reports of the superintendent.
Legislative updates.
Oh, I'm sorry, legislative update. Thank you. Mr. Bill Brady?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Glad to be here this evening, talk a little bit about the upcoming session. The session starts on January 13th. Constitutionally, it always starts the second Monday of January, so it's late this year. It'll be the 13th. Each session, and I served 16 years as a legislator and then retired and went into governmental relations about 4 years later. So I've been around about 35 years, 35 sessions, and each session takes a little bit of its own personality. And this is a unique year because this is an election year. All 165 House and Senate members will be up this year. So a number of them are running for higher office. We have several. The Senate President is running for the United States Senate. We have several that have expressed an interest in running for congressional seats. So you have that kind of factors into the personality of the session.
Mm-hmm.
The good news, from my perspective, is that usually in election year, legislators are, the majority of the legislators are interested in getting the work done so that they can be done with it and get out on the campaign trail. So if we can get the work done on time or even perhaps a little early, schools will have a better idea what sorts of things they're going to have to adapt to for the next school year a little earlier. So that can be good. Certainly for our sake. This will be the second year for Governor Kelly. That will make it, I think, a little easier in terms of the session getting off to a quicker start because her folks are in place and she'll have her budget recommendations ready to go. It's always a challenge the first year when a new governor takes over, wins the election in November and takes over literally 8 weeks later. And so this year will hopefully that'll be a little more settled and expedite the session a little bit. The big issues will be Medicaid expansion. That certainly will have an indirect effect on schools because it would, if passed this year, would add 150,000 Kansans to the Medicaid rolls. And contrary to a lot of the perception about it, it's significant numbers of these folks are what we call the working poor, folks that are within 138% of federal poverty level, have employment, but their employment doesn't provide them health insurance or doesn't provide them a realistic shot at health insurance because of the cost of health insurance and the potential subsidy they might get from their employer. It's just not physically possible to pay for it. So there's 36 states that are doing this, have done this. Kansas is one of 14 states that haven't done it. And hopefully this year will be the year that it certainly is Governor Kelly's priority issue for the session and will have an indirect effect, I think, on public schools in Kansas if it's passed. I was here earlier in the fall and talked a little bit about high density at risk and the sunset to that. That's really the big issue for schools this year. That and the continued support the legislature needs to show on the 5-year school finance plan. The 5-year plan this year will be appropriating money for the next school year starting July 1. So this will be the third year of the 5-year plan. So there's roughly $100 million that would be spread statewide, based on the base aid formula and all the weightings. And roughly, I'm sure Dr. Faust has a more exact number, but roughly KCK's portion of that is in the $5 million range, $5.5 million. So that would be new money coming into the district from the third year of the plan. To put it in perspective, though, if the high density at risk were not, if that sunset is not repealed, if that were allowed to go into effect and we lost that high density at risk, that's 51 million statewide. But of course it hits districts that have large amounts of at-risk students, which KCK has. The high density is an additional funding amount per student for all districts that have at least 35% district-wide of their population that are free lunch. So we would qualify obviously for that, and that amount of money is roughly $6.5 million, somewhere in that range that we receive from that high density. So you can see if that sunset is not successfully repealed, the new money we got would be overcome by the loss of money that we would get from high density. So it's a big issue. It's a big issue. There's 30-some districts statewide. Wichita and Kansas City are at the top of the rung in terms of money. Wichita's is over $12.5 million, and they're set to get $10 million from the third year, new money from the third year of the plan. So again, they'd be a net loser. But there's 30-some districts, and so we're going to have a concerted effort to try to get this repealed. The governor is very supportive of repealing it. She's going to put the $50 million in her budget, so it's not going to be new money. It's not going to be anything additional that the state hasn't been planning on when they went to the courts last year and said, we're going to fund this 5-year plan. So we just got to hopefully get it passed, and they'll I'm sure be people's individual ideas of better ways to spend the money. That's what the legislative process is about, but we'll have to be successful in that. So we'll be real active on that issue. And in that regard, we have the kind of pre-session legislative event that we've hosted, that the district has hosted in the past. We hosted it last year. This year, Turner is hosting it, and it's Thursday morning. And it's a great opportunity for board members and staff to let our legislative delegation know, what we're interested in this year. And this is a front and center issue for us.
Oh, yeah.
And our legislators have been really supportive. I've been talking to them all fall, and we have a very supportive delegation, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't let them know how important this is. So, and, if we're not communicating with them, that kind of says something to them too.
Right.
So, as you know, I mean, you want, in your roles as elected officials, you want
Definitely.
that input from constituents, and they want it too. So we're expecting a good crowd of them there on Thursday, and welcome you being a part of it. And if you can't be a part of it, there's no reason that I would encourage you to communicate with them individually, the individual legislators as you feel comfortable with. Just let them know the issues. We had this, as part of the 5-year plan, the legislature decided they were going to have the legislative post-audit review various components of the school finance system. And we just got the legislative post-audit report. And on balance, I think it's pretty good. They take some shots at the state board and Department of Ed for their supervision of it, but not as much as in the past. Potentially they've taken a shot at individual districts, So maybe my expectation was low or whatever, but potentially it's, I think there's a lot to work with here from our perspective. So I've talked to the chair of the Senate committee, Senator Baumgardner, from Johnson County, the Spring Hill, Olathe area. And she said she intends to hold hearings on at-risk funding probably late January, early February. We may be asked to provide some testimony regarding, how we spend our at-risk dollars. And so, we'll, be kind of working on that in case we are asked to do that. So that'll be a big issue. The chair also mentioned that she's very interested in foster care and foster care's interaction with schools and the frustration that, and I told her this was, a school frustration too, the lack of documents following the child so that, school districts know, what they're dealing with in terms of students, where, what sort of educational background they've had. So we may be asked to be a part of that. That would be probably in February, I would assume. Another issue I think that potentially is going to be talked about is there is some interest from the folks that started the pilot for mental health to make that a permanent program. Not sure what form that would take in terms of permanency, but we'll be monitoring that issue as well. So those are three major issues. Anticipate hopefully we can get the high density at-risk sunset set. That's really potentially our biggest area of concern in terms of funding for the next school year.
Okay.
Questions? I'd be happy to try to respond to them, or thoughts.
I'll be there Thursday morning, so I look forward to interacting.
Perfect.
And asking questions, so thank you.
Is it possible to get a copy of that state audit that you held up?
It's available online. I'll send Stephen the link, and you can access it online. That's what I did, and then I just printed off a copy. I can leave with this copy I printed off. I just have one if you want one written copy for the board tonight, but it is available online as well.
Okay, that'll be fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We
Thank you.
appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So now we will have the reports from the superintendent to approve the audit presentation from Ms. Hauser.
I ask that the Kansas City Board of Education approve the annual audit report as submitted by Dennis Covington, Chief Financial Officer, Tracy Kaiser, Executive Director for Business, and as recommended by myself, Superintendent of Schools.
Good evening again, Board.
Good evening.
Each month I come before you, I tell you that we're in financial good shape. And each month I come to tell you that we take good care of your money. But by law, we must have an outside agency come in each year to back up what I tell you.
Right.
So we have with us Mr. Abram Chrislett from our Miser and Hauser auditors to give you our audit report for the last school year.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'll just try to quickly kind of walk you through the highlights of the audit report, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any. I will tell you I'm not the usual face you see. We're in a transition period. Audrey has retired. Our firm's moving out of the audit field altogether, actually. So I'm kind of wrapping up this in lieu of Audrey, but I can certainly try to answer your questions if you have any. Real quick, the primary objective of an audit is simply to express an opinion on the financial statements. And in the report that you have, there are two separate opinions, and I always try to explain to make sure that there's good clarity on what those two opinions mean. One of them is called an adverse opinion on U.S. generally accepted accounting principles. And I always want to highlight that adverse opinion is not a negative. The district annually approves a waiver from those U.S. generally accepted accounting principles, as do almost every district in the state of Kansas. And that allows you to report under the Kansas regulatory basis of accounting. So while that opinion is there, it's not the most important one. The most important one is actually on the top of page 2 of your bound document there, and it's called an unmodified opinion on the Kansas regulatory basis of accounting. And it basically means that we believe these financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects in relation to that basis of accounting. It's the highest opinion that we can express, and simply means that we believe your financial management is in place and these financials are presented fairly. Moving beyond that, just to kind of give you a real quick overview of how the financials are laid out, you have on page 3 kind of a snapshot summary of the district's funds, shows beginning and ending cash balances, and also shows the composition of cash between the different banks and accounts. The next section, pages 4 through 12, are what we call our note disclosures. And this is where you can find in narrative format information about the district's accounting policies, the budgetary process, long-term debt repayment schedules, information about the KPERS pension plan. All of these are required notes, no significant changes from previous years, but they're there for your information. Beyond that, you have a whole bunch of individual schedules that I will not go into in this type of setting, but if you want to look at a particular fund and see the line-by-line breakdown of revenues and expenditures, and if it's a budgeted fund, there'll be a column for the budget. All of that information is there. It's good read material if you want to go to sleep. So, the last thing I want to talk about, because this district obviously spends more than $750,000 annually in federal aid, you have a whole second requirement with the audit. It's called a single audit. And if you want to turn to page 41, that is what's known as the Schedule of Expenditures of Federal Awards. And we're required, as the auditors, to audit every major federal program at least once every 3 years, and to audit at least 20% of the federal expenditures annually. And so in order to accomplish those two goals, we looked at the Child Nutrition Grant and the Special Education Grant for this past fiscal year. The federal government gives us a guideline of different audit procedures we have to follow, and then we're required to report to you any findings, any weaknesses, internal controls, any non-compliance with laws and regulations, anything of that note. Page 43 kind of summarizes that for you, and you can see we've got check marks in all the no columns, meaning we didn't have any of those findings, none of those weaknesses in internal controls. Again, this is exactly what you would want to see in an audit report. I always point out that the very last line says, is the auditee qualified as a low-risk auditee? The answer there is no. People want to know, why can't we say yes? And the reason is simply because you are past that waiver from U.S. generally accepted accounting principles, and by definition, if you don't report under U.S. GAAP, you can't be low risk. So again, it's not a problem, it's just a formality. That's basically it. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them, but again, it's a very positive, clean audit report, and it's what you'd want to see.
Thank you so much. Any questions from board members? Any comments? We appreciate you doing this so that we can continue to do what is necessary in order to help our students, to educate them, because we have to make sure we're doing everything decent and in order. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know you all see me as the face of finance, but the real people that do all the work, I like to bring them up so you all can see who's really keeping us on the straight and narrow with our accounting.
Okay.
And you know, we had a turnover back in February of our leadership in the business operations. So if Tracy will come up, and Brad, and Wayne. I do the reporting, but this is the people that do all the work, and they are the one that got us such a clean audit, and I want to publicly thank them for the hard work that they do.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so may I get a motion that we approve the annual audit presentation from Mize Hauser?
I make a motion that we approve the annual audit presentation from Mize Hauser.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that we approve it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Dr. Faust?
I'd ask that the Kansas City Board of Education accept proposed changes to Board Policy IHA grading system for the third read, discussion, and possible action as submitted by Alan King, Interim Assistant Superintendent, and as recommended by myself, Superintendent of Schools.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Faust, members of the board.
Good evening.
This is the third time that we're bringing this to you. I want to highlight the changes that have been made since the last meeting. First of all, we highlighted and read everything that would show up in the parent handbook because that is a change from previous. The top line of the second paragraph within the handbook, we have eliminated the name Infinite Campus and made a more generic online gradebook mentioned there. At the bottom of that same paragraph, We've added the number 10 to the possibilities of approximation of entries for the grade book each week in a quarter. That would be a total of 10 for a quarter. And then the other thing that we did was at the bottom of, or the line above that, grades was changed to shall be updated. And as a result, we went in and aligned all the language in there. So we put shall in most of the areas. So if you look wherever shall was entered, it's underlined, and we crossed out the words that we did. So it's now up for more discussion.
Any comments?
Why did we decide on number 10 as a number?
That came from a number from your discussion, so we just put that in, so.
Okay, that's the only thing I disagree with. I don't believe a number needs to be put in there. We state shall be updated each week. I don't believe we have to put a number in there. That's my only concern.
Now, I'll talk about that. I was personally, my daughter just had grades, and her teacher just put in all of her grades as of yesterday. So I have an issue with that as the superintendent, and I understand that there are several teachers who put in grades, but there are several who students would have just found out yesterday that they were not passing a class. So I'm, as a superintendent, I know it's the board's policy, but I have to have some weight on this one because that's not fair to students. She was doing okay, but other students aren't. And so, yes, we understand that there are great people here who keep up with their grades daily. They use PLCs as they should, but not everyone does that. And that's actually why we have to have policies. We have to have policies because there are people who do not follow the rules. And so that's my ask of the board.
Okay. Well, as a former teacher, one of the things that I did do was I was repetitively making sure that the grades were there, not at the end, but as they were progressing through. And so therefore, I can go with this as far as us setting a requirement as to make sure that the teacher that are doing it, because the dynamics have changed within the schools. And a lot of people, as Dr. Fausta said, are not doing that. So I would be in agreement with a number, whether it's 10, 5, or whatever, to hold the teachers accountable to make sure that they are doing what is necessary, because at times they may decide to wait till you get to the end, and it's too late for a child to catch up and to be able to make that change. So,
how many weeks are in a quarter?
Roughly 9. Not always, you get partial weeks in that.
There'll be one grade per week.
And I would say, I have brought this up about a number and asked questions because, of course, we know that at times some classes will not have 10 grades available, but the word approximately, that means that it does not have to for certain be 10, but an approximate or an expectation. So in looking at this and reading this for those teachers who do not have 10 available grades, then it's implied based upon how it reads in parentheses, not as out of the parentheses, meaning if it's applicable. So for that reason, I too would, that's something that I can understand and be supportive of.
And I too support that as a former teacher. And I prided myself because I wanted to make sure they were in there.
Right.
And I think we get ourselves in a lot of trouble. If somebody's putting it in at the last minute, that's a problem. And it's hard to defend that. And we're not trying, and I know as a teacher, it just seems like every day we're adding something to the plate. I get that. But it's still our job. It's our responsibility. And we have to put the grades in. And again, we're not trying to make it hard for people because it protects us all.
Exactly.
And it's easier to defend you when we can look at it and say, okay, the grades are there, but if it's nothing there and you go back and look when they put them in, that's kind of hard to defend. And we got to realize the times that we're living in, and we want to do the right thing. And this is not to make anybody's life hard. It's our job. It's our responsibility. And that's what we should do.
And I believe the wording that you have chosen, that they shall be updated in the online grade book each week, helps ensure that that is updated.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's why I think that that statement covers it. It says, grades shall be updated in the online gradebook each week. It's not saying that you have to have 10 grades per quarter or 6 grades per quarter or 9 grades. It's saying each week the grades should be updated.
Well, I think the rationale for the 10 is for those who need those grades, especially when you're trying to track it. It's hard to hold people accountable if there's no number, and it should be there. So that's why in parentheses, it says approximately 10 per quarter. So there's no question about, oh, I can put 4 grades in there, and really there should be more than 10. And so that number, again, if, for instance, if they're doing a higher module that does not require 10 to be put in there, then that approximately 10 per quarter in those parentheses covers that.
I have a question for the attorney. Do parents have rights to grieve grades if they're not put in? So if a parent finds out that report cards are due on Thursday, they found out yesterday that their child has an F and didn't have any acknowledgement prior to that, what are the rights of the parent?
I would need to do more research on that. I don't think there's any explicit statute that says thou shalt have grades entered according to this process.
But just in good faith. So technically, if 3,500 parents wanted to come and speak to the board based on kids not having adequate grades in, they could actually do so.
And the reason why this policy came about is because there were complaints from parents that were sent to me because their child's grade was not entered and they were not getting a favorable grade as an A. So as a plea, they asked for us to change the process so that their child could be fairly assessed and know. And on a personal note, Dr. Faust, I have a weekly requirement for my daughter to see her grades so that I can know where she is, so that I shouldn't, although I shouldn't have to have that, it's just a requirement for me, so I will know, because grades are not, as you mentioned, properly entered, so I can know where my daughter is tracking.
And so I'll also tell you why the fight is. Probably about 4 weeks ago, our athletes, we were about to lose over half, 75% of our athletes for failing because they didn't have one grade in. And the state, KCKPS states that they have to be passing. And because teachers had only entered one grade and that was a failing grade, part of those were test grades, they just hadn't finished putting the rest in. So there's some things that go on behind the scenes that you aren't aware of that we have to make sure. So we had to pull in all of the athletic directors and say, okay, wait a minute. You're not going to tell me that 75% of these athletes, we wouldn't have an athletic team. Like, there's no way that we'd be able to even have a sports team if 75% of our kids were failing. You just can't. So we have to get above our thoughts and understand that not everyone follows those rules. Again, as I said, those rules are there. We're here to protect kids.
Right.
Bottom line. That's what we get. All that money that Bill Brady was talking about, it has nothing to do with any adults sitting in this building or outside of the other 60 roofs that are here. It's all for these kids. And if we don't fight for our kids, then I'm sorry, I don't know what we're here for. And so it's just a bottom line. We have to be able to, I thought I was a great teacher, but you best believe that there were grades in that book for every time I graded something, because parents want to know. They stay up at night studying with kids. Kids study. They teach the information. I understand you get behind. I understand that. But to go 8 weeks and not put one grade in?
Something's wrong.
No. I mean, that puts a bad name out for other teachers who are pressing forward every single day. And then, of course, we're talking about our athletes, but we have to look at everyone. And if we're really going to look at accountability, we have to look at accountability.
Yes. And the dynamics are changing. And one of the things, what we're saying is, it's not that some teachers are not doing it. We're just making sure that we have our bases covered to make sure that everybody is doing what is necessary. Even if a teacher is submitting one grade in each week.
One grade.
But those who are not, we're now making sure that it's done. What was done in the past was a level of trust. it's still there, but yet and still they have to step up a little bit more and make sure that those grades are recorded in there. And so I would like for us to keep the approximately 10 per quarter. Okay, any other comments? Okay, so with that,
Are we ready to approve that policy tonight?
I make a motion that we accept policy IHA, grading system for third read, discussion and possible and approval.
thank you.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, did you say aye? Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So now we are ready to approve the payment for the bills for the public library.
I make a motion that we approve the payment for the bills for the public library.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the payment for the public libraries. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. We're now ready for the consent agenda.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I second it. All those in favor say aye. Aye. The opposed? Thank you. We're now ready for payment of bills.
I make a motion that we approve the payment of our bills.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the payment of the bills. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you. It's been passed. We're now ready for communications. What?
I would like to just start off with our celebratory activities. On Friday, we had our KC scholars. There were 5 individuals who received $5,000 per year from the Kaufman Center. And those individuals are able to go back and obtain their college degree or associate's degree or bachelor's degree. And it was just great to see individuals and the surprise on their face actually just being, honestly, when you think about individuals who have wanted to finish a degree and for some reason had to stop, but now being able to get $5,000 for them or $20,000, so they're actually giving us about $100,000 just to fund their educational dreams and aspirations. That was very much positive. And just the working collaboration that we have with Kaufman today, we were able to do somewhat of a retreat/principals meeting over at Kaufman. Kaufman gave us their space for free and fed our principals this morning breakfast and lunch. On them, and it was just a great place to just be able to get them out of, here, not saying that this is a shabby place by no means, but the area of being able to sit there and they had real china to eat off of and, glasses and fresh coffee and not out of a box. It was really good. It kind of set the atmosphere on a cold day. And then, going on I will say that it was an awesome event last Friday and Saturday to be able to sit in Topeka and learn along with the board and have the cabinet there to understand also. And I think it was just a great learning event going there. And again, I just thank everyone for their time. And, we are on track.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you. Also, I was in Wichita, had a great time. One of our newest board members, she was there with us, and we just enjoyed learning everything that we can, as well as building the right relationship with the cabinet as well. I had the privilege of going over to Harmon High School to the class of Allegra Henderson on Thursday, December the 12th, whereas we were doing mock interviews with students and helping them to understand how they are to present themselves in case they decide to apply for a job. Right after that, I ended up over at Wyandotte High School, participated in a high school culinary students dessert sampling contest. And there were at least 8 to 10 different desserts, and I hadn't eaten anything all day, that I had an opportunity to taste and we judged, and the winner was a brookie. And it was a combination of a chocolate chip cookie and a brownie together. It was delicious. And then second place was a key lime pie, and Mr. Covington really enjoyed that as well. But right after that, I was there to watch our superintendent, Dr. Faust, compete in a competition of preparing salmon, Brussels sprouts, and cheesy, bacony mashed potatoes. Didn't get a chance to taste it, so he's going to have to cook it for me one day. But it was just good to see the students interacting with all of us who were there. There were members of the cabinet as well, to be able to interact together so that they could learn and build relationships. Also talking to students and helping them to understand that this is not just the end, this is only the beginning, that to go ahead and further your education, even if it's not in the culinary area, but to continue to look forward to being the best that you can. And then, of course, it was just great to just be there. And that's what I've done this week. Anyone else?
Yes, I too was in Wichita. It was a really good time to be able to network and grow. One thing about conferences that I really enjoy is being able to meet new people, talk to various school districts to see what they're doing great, how we can improve ourselves, how we can share ideas rather than just keep them all ourselves. One activity involved us recreating a cookie. And with that, they gave us 2 cookies, and we had to use the resources that we had to create a cookie. Well, at the end of the day, what we found was that although it won't be the exact replica because we were not professional cookie makers, however, we can use the ideas and put them in the best that we knew how to put them in, as well as strengthen our district with the resources we have. And one thing I learned from the cabinet that we have is everyone is different. We all have different ideas. We have different ways that we see for implementation. But the number one thing we have in common is we all want the best for our children. And that's one thing that we really stand behind and we try to communicate to the public is that we are one. What you see here as a board, we make the decisions for our children to make them better. So with that, I look forward to going to the Gear Up program tonight. They are having a parent graduation downstairs, and that says a lot about our district when we also reward the parents because the parents put in hard work to make sure that their students are on track. So thank you.
Okay.
It's page first. It's been very busy the last couple of weeks out in our schools. When Whittier had a music program with the 1st and 5th graders, it was really divine. The KSAB convention, this is my 3rd one I've been to, and when you get there and you talk with people, you find out you've got a lot more in common than you do different. We're a unique district in our state. There's no other like us, but we have a lot of things in common with Western Kansas, Central Kansas. We just have to sit down and talk and share ideas. I was at Wyandotte the 9th and the 10th to participate in their mock interviews. The kids were so well prepared, and you don't get to interact as often with the high school students as you do the elementary, and it was really fun. The Honor Orchestra had their concert at the Gloria Willis Middle School in that beautiful auditorium. The parents were so impressed with it. The sound was great. Frank Rushton had a 5th grade music program, and I tell you, our music teachers, they pull so much creativity out of our kids. He had at least 50 kids up there by himself, and he had them all doing songs and the actions. Perfect rhythm. That is an accomplishment when they meet with them for about 20 to 40 minutes a week. On the 11th, I went to the Kansas State Board of Education meeting in Topeka. They gave us an update on the KISA, and I had Susan email you guys copies of the reports. They had a PowerPoint. It was very, very good report. Eisenhower had a music program. And on Friday, the state had the road show for early childhood meeting here in town. I believe Mr. King was there and Dr. Charles was there about the needs of our students all over the state for early childhood care and education. I went to a couple of community luncheons, Harmon Girls Basketball, middle school wrestling was Saturday morning at Gloria Willis Middle School. Once again, that new gym was great. And our district has the harp ensemble, as you all know. They performed at Oak Park Mall on Saturday, out there by the Culture House, and they did a wonderful job. Our kids, they shined. People walking by would stop and listen. So we've got a lot of good things going on in our district. We've got a few more nights of programs to go to in sports, so I encourage you to do that. There's a couple of updates I was going to ask about.
Okay.
Dr. Faust, I was wondering if you had gotten the OVT report posted for us yet.
So remember, I gave you a message and an email. If you'll go back and refer to that email, it was all documented for you. I've shared that with you, and I would like to ask the board this. When, I know that you have page 13, but there's also the board has a majority. When individuals will continue to ask for information, I've told them the answer. What is the pleasure of the board?
Well, accordingly, go ahead.
The outside visitation team report is part of our accreditation process.
And if you will refer back to that email, because I'm not going to state what was stated in the email because I don't think it's right at the state right now. I also asked you if you would like for me to have KLN come in and do a presentation. You never responded. You never responded to the email. I've had a conversation with the board chair. She never got a response from you. I actually told you that. So I'm actually surprised that you would be asking about an email that we talked about, and I even said that I could have KLN come and explain to you. And if you wanted that to happen, then we as a board can ask it. You would need 3 people to put it on the agenda, and then we can do that. But I did say that to you.
And I responded to the board president and said that I would like.
Okay, so one of the things what I would recommend that we do is we wait and we'll table this. And when we have our next agenda planning meeting with Dr. Faust, Dr. Yeager, and myself, we ask that you come so that you could be a part of that, so that we can discuss it and look at everything and then decide if it's going to be added onto the agenda.
Okay, because we need to discuss our key
Is that acceptable?
accreditation.
Well, actually, they told us in that meeting that we could start over. And we told them that we didn't because actually the person who was overseeing it did not have the right facts. That's what happened. So we're having to have the state step in and give them the correct guidelines because they went off the wrong guidelines. I didn't want to say that, but since we're going to get there, they came in, there was a group of people who came in, they didn't do the interviewing process right. And I challenged the process, called the state, and the state then reprimanded, and so we have a new OVT team. And so that's what's happening. I told them they could come and respond. I didn't want to put the state's business out there because those individuals were selected, and as the superintendent, actually from the state, I get to select the team. That's written. And unfortunately, they didn't follow policy, and you know that I'm about following policy, and if you don't follow policy, you don't get to present. And so that's what happened. So there we have it, out there for everyone.
Okay, so with that in mind, again, that's what I'm recommending, but we will also, at our retreat that's coming up in January, on January the 10th, that we will be discussing that in detail. So to make sure that we, not particularly that item, but to make sure that we understand that when the procedures in which questions are being asked, responses are given, and that we can make sure that we are satisfied with the response that is presented to us, so that if we have any other issues, we won't have to bring it up at a public meeting that may not necessarily be adequate for us to discuss. So those are the 2 choices that I'm offering to you.
That's fine, but I was going by the board handbook that says when you request information, you should do it at the meeting, so all board members.
And they get to vote on it, because one member can't tell the superintendent what to do. It takes a majority, yes.
No, one member cannot.
Correct.
However, that is
Okay.
information we need to have, so if you would like to bring
So
it up.
at the retreat, we will be discussing that in detail.
Okay.
Okay, was there anything else?
Like an update on the special ed people that we're going to have getting certified, because I also noticed at the board meeting that we had 31 people get waivers. Are those part of that group of 53?
That's not in the agenda, so now we're going outside of the
Okay,
agenda.
so what, okay,
We can't answer those
I know
questions.
you can't
Wait, let
answer.
me finish. This is supposed to be the communication side, so this isn't part of the board meeting. We're actually stepping outside
Okay.
of what's on the agenda. So we would have to put this in another board. I'm just wanting to guide us back into the track of what the board meeting is about. We've stepped outside of the bounds.
okay. And one of the things I was expecting you to bring up your comments when we either went to the consent agenda to deal with the HR report, since that was a part of what you wanted. And when you didn't say anything, I was under the assumption that you didn't want to discuss it, or even at the beginning to be added into the agenda when you didn't say that.
I didn't want that to be reported on tonight. I just wanted an update in the future.
Okay,
Because they have to gather information.
There's a report. Have to get back to board
okay.
reports.
So why don't we table that for now? And again, when we have our next agenda planning meeting, we will, if you will come and meet with us, because there can be 3 board members present, and therefore, we will discuss it, and we will add information in for our retreat. Is that acceptable? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Any other comments? Thank you. So with that being said, we are, Ms. Page, did you have any comments? Thank you. So with that being said, we are now ready to look at our calendar of events for the month of December. Again, as it was mentioned, that the legislative breakfast is at 7:30 a.m. at Turner High School Library on Thursday, December the 19th. Gear Up is downstairs here in the central office building. If you are not busy, just to stop in, let them see that you support our parents in being a part of that. We also have community meeting with the architects on 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the main library on December the 19th, which we will be present. And then, of course, December 23rd through the 31st, schools are closed for the winter break. Wishing everybody a Merry Christmas and hope everything is great for what they're planning to do over the holiday, and we will reconvene back in January. Are there any other comments or questions? May I get a motion that we...
Motion that we adjourn.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn this meeting. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Meeting's adjourned.